All right, welcome back to the podcast. Want to talk about escapism. We've got this reality from which people are continually looking to escape, right? Whether it's a cigarette, a coffee, a drink, marijuana, now that it's legal in a lot of places. Ultimately, we are multi-motivated as to why we engage in certain behaviors, but escapism is definitely one of them, right? And always the come down from escapism is either small or large. And people that go to Disney World, when they enter into this reality, this false reality, this happiest place on earth, with Pleasure Island, and it's New Year's Eve every night, and these characters that dance, and there's amusement park, rides, there's little villages where you feel like you're not in the real world. Ultimately, Disney World, because I work there, is meant to facilitate an other world experience. It's meant to facilitate a disconnect from the real world. One of the reasons why Walt opened up the Walt Disney World in Florida was because in Disneyland, the original in California, things were built up outside of the theme park. So when you're inside the park, you could see hotels and stuff. And Walt wanted people to feel as if they weren't in the real world. People that spend thousands of dollars to go to Disney World multiple times a year are constantly looking to escape reality. And Disney World is as far away from reality as you can get, right? You could be on a resort for a week, but you're still on a beach. There's human beings that are serving you. You can get off the resort. You can go into the real world, into a local town or city. But Disney World, with its trumped up service, is ultimately this alternate reality. So the come down from Disney World is such a dissension. It's such a drop, a fall, when you return to the parking lot or when you leave after being there for 4 days at the resort and you're back in the real world with highways and street lights and lawyer billboards and pollution and factories and industrial malls and actual malls and McDonald's and your workplace, your coworkers. It's a crash. So these people then work to save up that money, an excessive amount of money, to go back to that reality, to just completely zone out, right? It's like heroin to people. It's non-lethal heroin. And yet, when you're spending so much money at Disney World on a Coca-Cola or a burger, etc., even for parking or entry fee, when you're spending that much, you're actually engaging in a form of reality that most of us aren't, because most of us don't engage in that every day. You know, we'll go to the grocery store and then we'll go home and we'll cook. And we will have saved a ton of money in comparison to being at Disney World. We won't be staying at a hotel. We won't be spending money on attractions, etc. But when you're spending all this money at Disney World, you're actually quite, how can you be not distracted from your alternate reality? How can you not be distracted with reality? The fact that they're fleecing you, that they're exploiting you, exploiting your need to escape your reality. I mean, that's pretty real, you know, that your pocketbook is being so damaged, or your credit card is being so exploited, so used. You're being so used for profit, obviously, and you're being duped. You're being told, you know, this is the happiest place in the world. But it's not, right? That's not even happiness when you're there, because you're spending exorbitant amounts of money. So there's this, what's it called? A cognitive dissonance, where you have to disconnect and disassociate yourself from spending all this money because you think Disney is such a nice place that's all nice people. But within those costumes, the Pluto costume, Mickey and Minnie, are actual human beings that are starving actors. You know, they're working for minimum wage. They're barely getting by and paying the rent, and yet the corporation that deceives you into thinking that you're having a fulfilling, meaningful time, that you're actually that you're engaging in a healthy experience is making a ton of money off you. And that's stark reality to me. So your escapism, if you must have to lie to yourself to have that level of escapism, and yet you continually crash and go back. I don't understand this addiction. I can understand other addictions, heroin, cocaine, meth, etc. I can understand alcoholism, but the addiction to Disney World or staying on a resort, when you know that at the end you're going to fall right back into this reality, that distance from your escape back to reality, that hangover that you have to suffer, is it worth it? Is it worth that escapism? Maybe you should work on changing your reality so you don't need the degree of escapism that you continually seek, right? Whether it's sex, drugs, alcohol, vacations, whatever you're watching, movies, watching TV, flipping through TikTok. We are always trying to escape the present. And maybe you should focus on contributing to the present, being fulfilled, operating in meaningful ways, or redefining peace, joy, happiness, love. If you hate your job and you have to do it to pay the bills, I totally understand. Not everyone can work in a calling, like a profession. Not everyone can do what they love. Not everyone is built for this world that has talents that are applicable to a paying corporation, right? Like, we have talents, but are they marketable? Can you get paid for your talents? Not everybody. So I understand so many people that work in retail or restaurants or factories, or warehouses, etc. They don't love their work. So you've got to find meaning, value, and purpose in other areas. That's why I don't believe that we find our meaning or purpose in our job, in our profession. You have to find it in how you conduct yourself. You have to find meaning and purpose in how you think, right? I believe that our thoughts are the creator of everything. And thoughts can come from God, heaven, right? Your thoughts either come from God or they come from staring your reality in the face and therefore needing an escape. But you need to find a healthier way to distract yourself so you don't rely on these unhealthy escapes that only lead you back to reality with a crash, which only makes you want that escape more. So finding peace, joy, love in just how you interact with people, until maybe you can find a position in a company or a job in which you find purpose, meaning, value. But in the meantime, there's no sense being unhappy, unsatisfied, unpeaceful in your life if it's just going to drive you into doing unhealthy behaviors and having this cycle of escape, crash, right? Obviously, a little bit of fun is acceptable, right? A little bit of this, a little bit of that. Pleasure, humans need pleasure. And pleasure is obviously the reason why we work. We work not only so that we can afford the bills, but to enjoy life. And whatever gives you pleasure, that's what you spend your money on. So there's work, there's pleasure, there's reality, there's escapism. But through it all, we have to do whatever we can through our own mind, emotions, spirit, soul, to be at the most peace and the most joyful, even when we're not experiencing pleasure and even when we're not suffering pain. And if it's through your religion, whatever, cultivating your own religion and your own outlook and your own ideology based on your life, who you are at this time with these people, is ultimately the greatest pleasure, because you apply your own rules, your own values to your particular situation, because not every religion applies Not every rule within a religion applies to you with your set of idiosyncrasies, traumas, challenges, problems, and faults in your situation with your family, friends, coworkers, boss, clients, customers, etc. Therefore, you have to cultivate your own outlook, your own religion with how you deal with your reality being you, with your strengths and weaknesses, etc. And through that, you will gain a strategy. You will develop a strategy how to handle yourself and your situations and excelling, progressing, maturing, growing, and through that get peace, joy, right? And in so doing, getting that peace and joy that comes from within, from your own cultivated outlook and system, you won't require the need for these escapes as much. Therefore, you won't have the crash. You'll just continue to hit these hurdles, these challenges head on, equipped and armed with your own system based on who you are, and feel that gratification of having done it yourself. Not grafting a religion onto your life, but cultivating your own. And there's nothing more satisfying than that. And you do that by writing, because writing uncovers your surface thoughts. You get to deeper thoughts, deeper truths. You come to be honest with yourself. You have to be truthful and realistic with yourself about what needs fixing, where you need help, where you need to improve. And then when you cultivate your own plan and your own system, that's always changeable because you're always aging and growing and maturing, you may find a great deal of gratification from that. And then you don't preach that because your system may or may not apply to anyone else. You don't preach it, you don't boast it, you don't flaunt it, you just humbly and serenely accept your reality, who you are, your situations, and you fight it with your own system. That's it. And through that, at least gain a little more peace, at least suffer a little less, and at least need the escapes a little less. And that's it. Because there is no solution to life. There is no way. There is no one way, etc. And anyone who tries to sell you, just manifest positive thinking, believe in God, believe in Allah. There's all kinds of institutional advice out there that may apply to the people preaching it, but maybe not to you. And so take time for yourself, be honest, reflect, introspective, reflective, contemplative, and cultivate your own philosophies. Apply them as you will, and feel the gratification of having done it yourself. Peace.